our votes don't count. So it's a huge challenge for the Commission, for anybody saddled with that responsibility. But having said that, it's also, to partly answer your second question as well, that yes, there are lots of collaboration and cooperation between INEC and some of the agencies that also have that responsibility. An agency like NOAA also has responsibility to enlighten the public. I think civic education is primarily that of NOAA. Probably voter education is more suited to INEC because passing across voter information. But we do collaborate with all these agencies that are also saddled with that responsibility. The Ministry of Information, we have an interagency consultative committee which basically tries to synergize the efforts of all these agencies. The Ministry of Information is there, and other professional organizations, professional bodies, and statutory bodies also have responsibility in that regard.
Now, let me ask. I'm sorry. At the point at which you are, Mr. Osazeuzi, let me jump in and ask this then. If indeed you don't want to be the judge in your own case, as in how have you fared, would we then be right to assume that you haven't fared very well? Because if you're doing it properly, people will not be talking about the lack of credibility of the election, which is why they are not interested and they don't think that their votes will count. And that's why it's difficult for you to persuade them to participate in the process. I mean, again, are we talking about the chicken or the egg here?
Well, I think that's too simplistic a view to take, quite honestly. And the world over, citizens there's a general mistrust of politicians and political processes. It's a universal phenomenon. I don't think Nigeria is any different, and I don't think you can squarely put that blame on the Commission. Lack of trust might even come because of failed promises, for example. So I don't think it's necessarily an issue of voter education. It's a lot more complex than that. So I beg to disagree. I don't think I'll accept.
Then in that case, no, in that case, then let me put it another way. Let me put it another way. First of all, evidence tends to presume that, or tends to show that it's not everywhere that there's general apathy. If people believe the process is credible, even when politicians make promises and they don't fulfill them, they're sure that if they go and vote and enough people feel that they haven't fulfilled those promises, those politicians will be kicked out anyway. But I'm thinking of it more from the viewpoint. I'm looking at it, or I'm asking the question from the viewpoint that INEC's role is to get people to participate in the process. If you have taken on the role, and
well, there's some people.
if you've taken on the role of educating, how do you measure the success or otherwise of that education? How do you do that?
Well, I'm sure there are different variables and different ways you could do that. But first of all, I don't think we're qualified to do that. And also realize that the primary responsibility of INEC is not to conduct voter education. That is not its primary responsibility.
Sorry, Mr. Uzi,
its primary responsibility is to conduct elections in accordance with laid down rules and the laws that have been given to it by the National Assembly or by the legislature. So it takes it as a consequential role. Because it fixes dates for elections, it has to give voter information out to people. It should not be INEC's primary responsibility to tell people the importance of democracy and democratic institutions and things like that. I think that's a much wider issue. It should primarily be concerned with voter information, things to do specifically with the process, not necessarily civic education.
Okay, let me take you up on voter information.
Why participation is important.
Yeah, let me take you up on voter information since you have accepted that at least that is a core responsibility of INEC. Now, we know that there are now 7 steps, or we hear there are 7 steps to the voting process when you get to your ward. I don't know how widely publicized those 7 steps are, or whether everybody knows what they are. We also know now that rather than your thumb, because of the, the sheer size of the ballot paper, you should use your little finger or your index finger just to make sure that you're able to thumbprint properly. Now, I don't know how far you've gone with letting voters know that for Saturday, which is in a couple of days away.
Yeah, what I can say is that we have used different strategies and different fora to try to get the message across to people. And the electronic media is one of those. I've appeared, and my colleagues have appeared in just about all news channels and on a regular basis in the last 1 month, and we'll continue to do so. We've tried to publish messages and pay for messages on these platforms. We've used social media, and we've used face-to-face town hall gatherings and meetings. Every opportunity we've had, we try to pass that information across. And we pass it on to other stakeholders. We're supporting IPAC, we're supporting the political parties in ensuring that they, who have the primary responsibility, actually, I'm not going to show that, but I'm showing the core responsibility of the Commission. The core responsibility of the Commission is to conduct elections, do the logistics of it, and ensure that the elections are there. But we've tried to reach out to all the other stakeholders who also have equal share, equal responsibility to enlighten the public. The political parties are the primary beneficiaries of turnout of voters. So I think they should take more of a front seat role rather than a back seat role that we've seen in some instances.
Lest you feel besieged, Let you breathe a little, and then take this to Professor Chidi Odinkalu. Professor Odinkalu, I'm going to ask the same question I asked Professor Oyebode at the beginning, and that is, coming from 1999, I mean, if we're going back to the historical perspective now, coming from 1999 to date, have we progressively improved in terms of the processes involved in our elections, the level of participation, which is what we were just discussing, the transparency, the security of it, the logistics of it? I mean, if we take 1999 as the baseline,
and 2019,
and take 2019 as the current line, how have we fared?
Thanks a lot, Ladi and Dijama. It's difficult to answer that in one sentence or in one word, because an election
Please use as many words and as many sentences.
It's an election in many ways in a country like ours is a complex emergency. And you have different elements or components of an election. I'll just outline a few of them. One, you've got demographics, just managing the population, registering people who will vote, who will not vote, under what circumstances, and all of that. We've been talking about voter education here. Voter education is another element, and the civics, and civic education and everything connected with that. It's not just the rationales why you must vote, it's the mechanics, how you vote. You see, in 1979, we had 5 political parties. In 1983, there were 6. Now we've got 91, of whom 73 will be on the ballot paper. That means that a lot of people who had the memory of having voted in 1979, or indeed in 1983, in 2003, when we had about 37 political parties, that experience may not help you now, because we are moving from the thumb to the index finger, okay? Now, we have electoral logistics. Electoral logistics is making sure that everything gets delivered to the voting points, to the polling stations at the right time on the day. There are sensitive materials, there are non-sensitive materials. Sensitive materials would have been, may well have started going out this week. Before this week, you had non-sensitive materials going out. How do we assess logistics? You do have the issue of counting and collation. As a country, we've never been good at counting. We've never been good at collation. That has always been problematic. I think it's fair to say we may well have improved by 2015. The jury is out as to whether we are there now. If you recall, in 1983...
Prof, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to put you
there
on
was
pause.
A coup on the...
We're going to have to take this break. When we come back from this break, I'll let you continue and conclude your statement. But please stay with us. We'll be back after this.